Let's judge these banned cards and see if they're worthy of being pulled off the list or not. Hey there everyone, and welcome back to an ongoing series where we take a look at Yu-Gi-Oh's TCG ban list and discuss whether or not a card can come off of it with or without erratas. So before we take a look at the comments and then the cards for today, happy ban list week. Now, I know this will be on Wednesday, but the ban list just dropped today on Saturday the 31st. I did look at it. We will talk about the cards that got pulled off of it that we had talked about. So, yeah. And I know people get salty about the ban list. Oh, no, this wasn't pulled off. It wasn't put on or whatever. But we will talk about it after we talk about the cards for this week. So let's take a look at the comments. Starting with the Tyrant Neptune. So Tenebrae 17 talked about how it was significantly weaker than Supreme King's Servant Starving Venom because you couldn't cheat it out of the because you couldn't, it had to be summoned from the hand. The big issue was because of Independent Nightingale, which scales up into an actual menace because of the higher level. Yeah. Tyrant Neptune is a higher level than Nightingale, I believe. If my Nightingale was banned, there's a higher chance that Neptune just wouldn't see play. I actually agree with that. If the facilitator of the card that gets banned doesn't itself gets banned, then the card that got helped into being a problem wouldn't see as much play unless there were other combo pieces that people could think of that could facilitate Tyrant Neptune. For additional context, the time the combo piece for the Big Burn instant fusion. Yeah, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe it was a then modern take on Cyberstein for fewer life points. But that's just a guess. And release of Independent Nightingale coincided with the release of Predaplant. Oh, we could summon Predaplant Darlingtonia Cobra. Okay, with a 2-card combo. The additional payoff is that Nightingale is unaffected by other card effects, so opening Neptune and a way to instant fusion. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. That might be a bit of foresight on my part because I did mention to monster type exclude it to reptiles, but that was just a guess, I believe. Okay, Kit Kalos went straight from 3 to 0. I might be slightly biased, but potentially could see it come back to 1. With Shizu Miller's already banned and the Aqua type, 2 elements already limited, removing. Oh, right. Okay, that makes sense. I don't see tier limits being played, so having an unaltered Kit Kalos come back might be decent. The only reason why I mentioned the changes is because just the card effect alone seemed too good for an archetype. Just throwing that out there. Gumbler Dragon is Toxic Hand Loop card. Yeah, I did see that. By itself, it's a discard 4. From the first effect, and on your opponent's turn with the Mermail deck before. I don't know if people play Mermail anymore. The combo was a discard 6 because of the addition of Mauling Glacia, the Elemental Lord. Okay. Discard 2 is just an extremely toxic effect, and there's not much value in trying to fix something that toxic, which requires making it a fundamentally different card. I mean, getting rid of each turn to your turn, I mean, it does change it some, but I'm just shrugging. Okay. Tempest Magician was banned because of Endymion Pendulum FTK, and you only needed to put 16 on the field by any means to achieve the FTK. The discard effect was generally not relevant, and this card's only successful competitive application was an FTK machine. Would make it unplayable. Well, like I mentioned last week, you don't really see spell counters being used. So there could be some plausible fix, but not like changing the card to where you can only discard a certain number a turn. Once again, I'm just throwing ideas out there. So, but anyways, let's take a look at this week's cards, starting with the Forceful Century. This is a normal magic card, which has the effect of look at your opponent's hand, select one card among them, and return it to his or her deck. The deck is then shuffled. So it got banned due to it allowing you to gain knowledge on your opponent's hand with no drawbacks whatsoever. Now, there is no drawback because it can also work if your opponent only has one card. So could this card come back with no changes? I'd say a hard no. Being able to gain access to your opponent's hand with no drawbacks is not fun for your opponent or you if it gets used on you. However, there could be some changes. I don't know if it would help, but I believe there could be some changes. Like, there would have to be a minimum of certain amount of cards that the opponent has to have. And you would have to, like, discard a certain number of cards from the top of your deck. But that's just a guess. That's just throwing an idea out there. If it had changes, could it be brought back? I don't know. Maybe at 1 at most. So, yeah. Okay. With that, let's take a look at card number 2 for today, which is Union Carrier. So Union Carrier is a Link to Light Machine Link effect monster. It requires 2 monsters with the same type or attribute. Its effect is cannot be used as link material the turn it is summoned. You can target one face-up monster you control, equip one monster to it from your hand or deck with its same original type or attribute. The equipped monster gains 1,000 attack. If you equipped it from the deck, you cannot special summon monsters with that equipped card's name for the rest of this turn. You can only use this effect of Union Carrier once per turn. So it has one once per turn effect. Honestly, it should have multiple, but the reason why it got banned, it was too splashable. First, it got used in Dragon Buster, and then it got used in a few other decks. So yeah, even if certain cards got banned from that deck, it was able to be ciphered into a different deck or immigrated into other decks. Could this card come back? Honestly, I would say maybe. Probably not with no changes, but the change I would propose either would be have it sub monster type exclusive, being that of Union monsters. Because, like I said, it was too splashable in so many decks. The other thing I would propose would be to fix a once per turn to all of its effects, not just the last effect. I think that would drop its power quite a bit compared to having it be Union exclusive, due to the fact that the last set of Union cards that were released were the was it the newer XYZ monsters. So yeah. But yeah, I would say once per turn on all the effects. And if it were, I can see it coming back at 1 at most. So yeah. There was a video that I watched a decent amount of. I'll link that in the description below. So yeah. With that, let's take a look at card number 3, which is Trap Dust Shoot. Trap Dust Shoot is a normal trap card, and its effect is activate only if your opponent has 4 or more cards in their hand. Look at your opponent's hand, select one monster card in it, and return that card to its owner's hand. Deck. Whatever. So it got banned because you can get knowledge on your opponent's hand, and the only drawback is your opponent had to have a certain number of cards. Okay, that was pretty much it. Could it be brought back nowadays? With so very little requirements in it, I would say no, not normally. But there was a suggestion that was brought up during my research that mentioned what if the card was errata to, say, have 7 or more. Considering most decks nowadays, you can actually play a fair amount of your hand on turn 1 or turn 2. So 7 cards is going to be very rare in most cases. And honestly, I would at least somewhat agree with it being errata to 7 or more. Because I know that there's the recently released Mulcharmy card. So that's really all I got to say about that. So if it got errata to say activate only if your opponent has 7 or more cards in their hand, I can see this being brought back to 1 at most. Any more would be asking too much, to be quite honest. So yeah. With that, let's take a look at the last card for today. And that one is True King of All Calamities. It is a Rank 9, Dark Worm Overlay Effect monster that requires 2 or more level 9 monsters. Its effect is, once per turn, quick effect, you can detach one material from this card and declare one attribute. This turn, all face-up monsters on the field become that attribute. Also, all monsters in your opponent's possession with the attribute cannot activate their effects or attack. Monsters that True Draco and True King monsters in your hand would be destroyed with their effects can be chosen from your opponent's field. Yeah, that's a weird way to word that last sentence. Okay, so True King of All Calamities got banned because it completely shuts down anything that your opponent can do if you can cheat it out on turn 1. Yeah, that's really all I gotta say about that. Can this card come back in its original form? No. I believe there's still plenty of ways that you can cheat this card out. Could there be viable solutions for problem solving this card without changing it to something completely different? No. I'm going to say no. Even trying to say having... Oh, well. No, wait. It does have a detach. No. I don't see any viable way of problem solving True King. I don't know why they went this route with an overlay monster, but whatever. Okay. With that out of the way, let's take a look at this past week's ban list. Now, there are 2 cards that I want to mention that were pulled off. One of them we had actually discussed back in May. And the other card I want to talk about, I was actually going to discuss. And then there's like something else as well. So the card that we had discussed back in May was Eva. Now, from what I remember, I believe both myself and Tenebrae 17, I think we both settled on no. But as of September the 2nd, which is Monday, yes, it will be limited to 1. Yeah, I think it has something to do with the Ishizu archetype having been hit, as you mentioned from last week. But I'm not sure on any other reason why beyond that. Now, the card that I was actually going to discuss this week, and I noticed that was actually on the unbanning list, was That Grass Looks Greener. So yeah, I was actually going to discuss that card. I don't have to now. And lastly, I believe so. They semi-limited the Dragon Ruler, Blaster, Redox, Tempest, and Tidal. Which, funny enough, I had mentioned last week. And we had been talking about the Dragon Rulers for 2 weeks straight. So that is hilarious. And one quick thing to mention, they put Time Seal on Unlimited, so I'm going to see if I have any copies of that. But anyways, That's going to do it for me today. We will get to the next set of cards next week. But until then, everybody, happy dueling.
It's time to do